What is going on, YouTube people? Northeast Ohio Cards and Comics here for the Sunday morning show. Recording this one a little bit earlier than normal. Doing this one early Saturday afternoon. So if anything crazy happens in the NBA on Saturday night, I'm clueless on it. I have the 101 trade night tonight. So I've not attended that yet at time of recording. But I wasn't sure what time I was going to be home from that. So recording this one a little bit earlier than I normally do on Saturday to go up first thing Sunday morning. So details and recap of the 101 trade nights, probably Monday or Tuesday. And then not sure what else I got planned yet for the rest of the week. I got a comic book video that I'm thinking about, baseball video that I'm thinking about, and a few other things in the hopper. But that is not what we're here to do today. Today is the wonderful week in review in the sports card market. And boy, oh boy, as the winds of winter come down off the mountains, it's getting a little chilly in the old marketplace. Pretty much most things continue to slowly trend down, almost regardless of sport. We'll kind of talk about it here in a second, but there are things going up, but a lot of the Lucas, the Jaws, the Herberts, the Burrows, the Mahomes, they've all had their various issues. Trey Young, I could keep naming players forever, pretty much across all sports. The NBA season's been very topsy-turvy this year. The Lakers struggle. The Hawks all of a sudden just forgot they were good. The Zion injury, in football, the Mahomes thing. So the sports themselves have done the card market no favors. But in general, most things are slowly going down. It's not a cliff per se in most cases, but it's just a slowly going down, going down, going down. Where's the bottom at this point? No one knows. And if anyone tries to tell you that they do, they're just making it up. They're lying. We don't know. We have no idea. Card show vibes continue to be good. I heard excellent things coming out of Dallas. Attendance was good. I was at the Shipshawana show, which was a bigger local show for me. It was packed. The vibe was good. So I still think, I have no concerns about the market long term, but in the short term, looks like we might still have a little rough seas ahead. I'm not really sure. Like I said, I really don't know. No one does. So let's go ahead and dive in. I did things a little differently this week. I do have some individual players for us to look at. News-wise this week, trying to think of anything super crazy that happened. Golden announced their thing with the Netflix documentary. I don't know that I necessarily have any hot takes on that. It won't be good, bad, or indifferent. If anything, it could be a little good if it puts a few extra eyes on, but I don't know how many people will actually watch it from outside of the hobby. And the things, at least what I assume that this show is going to circulate around, are things that most of us can't afford anyway. So I don't know how much that's gonna like boost the hobby or anything like that. We'll see. People hear documentaries and everyone freaks out because they think it means good things are coming, all because of the Jordan documentary, and that was a unicorn event. There was weird circumstances around that with the pandemic and everything that was going on. So when I hear the words documentary, I don't immediately freak out and think that everything's going to go to the moon for whatever the documentary is about. But that's neither here nor there. That was kind of the big thing that stuck out in my mind this past week. So rather than looking at a lot of individual players, what I did, this is a chart that I don't use too terribly often. It paints with a very broad brush, but that's kind of what I wanted to do today. This is the price movement by player / sales volume by player. It's the same chart. It just kind of depends on how you sort things. And you could stick in various parameters and market movers, link in the description down below, that allow you to kind of, sort it the way that you want it to a degree. So I broke out. We're mostly going to talk basketball and football today. I'm going to save a lot of baseball stuff because I kind of want to look at that independent from everything else, since it's kind of the off season for that. So we'll do a baseball deep dive later in the week. Basketball, graded cards only. So anything that's slabbed. So SGC, BGS, PSA, all grades. And then I clicked rookie card only, and then I put minimum sales to number of 20. If you put too small a number in there, it shows you too wide of a variance. Essentially, I want something that has a good sample size to it, and I went over a 14-week period, and then I sorted by number of sales because it also kind of just shows you what's moving in the market. To no surprise, in the basketball market, Ja Morant is number one. Now, what it does is it groups all these cards together and gives you some data on them. So his volume change, this once again over the last 2 weeks, was up 12% over the previous 2 weeks. Makes sense. Ja's come out of the season hot, and it's actually continued to play pretty well. But even his stuff, I don't think I pulled, maybe I did pull his stuff individually. Even his primary cards are slightly pulling back the last 7 to 14 days, even with him playing extremely well, but it also his stuff spiked way up from where it was in the beginning of the season. So if you're looking at it from the beginning of the season, you're still up. If you're looking back over the last 2 weeks, it's starting to come back down again because just like always, almost regardless of how hot you're playing, unless you're going full Otani, your cards are going to go up and then they're going to slowly pull back down again. That's exactly what we're seeing happening with Ja. I'm not surprised by this in the least. So over the last 14 days, you can see Ja's grouping of cards is down 9%. That's over 300. It's 337 cards with sales. And then you can see all the different shenanigans here. I could click on this and it would give us a full breakdown of the individual Ja cards. I don't necessarily care about that. What I was intrigued by is just scrolling down this list. And once again, this is not perfect. It's painting with a very broad brush. We're getting base mixed into here with inserts, just anything with that player's name on it from their rookie year slabbed is getting thrown into this pot of soup, if you will. But it still does give us at least a little information. So scrolling down, you can see, Zion's number 2. His portfolio is down 6%. Ja's is down 9%. Lucas is down 7%. Tyler Hero down 4%. RJ Barrett down 10%. The key thing here is I'm going to scroll down here. And what we care about is this price change column right here. Red means it's going down. Green means it's going up. So as we just kind of filter through here, there's Cam Reddish down 20%. Big drop there. You don't see a ton of green. Donovan Mitchell staying basically flat. Rui Hachimura basically staying flat. Shaq technically in the red, but basically staying flat. Kevin Porter Jr. down 10%, one of the larger numbers that we see. Keldon Johnson down 18%. Here's Green. Darius Garland up 3%. He's been playing very well. Sexton's hurt now. He's going to get a little bit more of the shine. Cavs look fantastic so far to start the season. I can't believe those words even fell out of my mouth. But man, do the Cavs look good. Sekou up 10%. That's random. 5%, 6%, 3% down. PJ Washington 7% up is a little random. Once again, when you group these things together, sometimes you get some weird stuff. Oh, the legend Bull down 12%. But once again, as I continue to scroll down here, you do not see a lot of green. Jordan Poole up 17%. He's had a very good week to 2 weeks. He started the season hot, cooled off, and is now heating back up again. Giannis up slightly at 4%. Not surprised by that. They look like they're possibly the favorites in the East. But once again, continuing to scroll down here, we see a lot more red than green. It's a lot more red. Is Steph up slightly? Not surprising. Steph's been playing out of his mind. The Warriors look like a finals favorite. More red, more red, more red. A little bit of green. Who's up here? Wendell Carter Jr. also been playing pretty good. Jamal Murray out for this, not out for the season, but slowly ticking up. Carmelo playing very well, up a little bit. Kevin Garnett, which does loop legends in the here and retired players and whatnot as well. Ben Simmons up 12%. I don't really know what that's all about. Kawhi Leonard down 10%. But you get the vibe here. What I'm going for is that most of this is red with a little bit of green, and the ones that are in green do make a little bit of sense. It's Steph Curry, playing nutso, Jordan Poole playing nutso, and a few of the others that we discussed there. So you could see the general trend in the NBA market over the last 14 days is it trending down slowly. We're not even talking about full 10% drops on a player's portfolio over a 2-week period. Some of them were, but most of them aren't that extreme. Slip over and look at football. We're going to see a very similar story. Once again, same thing here. 14 days. Football, graded cards only. Filtered number of sales minimum to 10. So it only will show us things that have at least 10 sales or more. Once again, just to give us a little bit of sample size here. Sorted once again by number of sales. The interesting thing here, people talk about the size of like the basketball and the football markets. So the number one selling player in football over the last 2 weeks, once again, graded cards only, Justin Herbert at 735. Over the same time period, John Morant sold almost 3,000 cards. So just to kind of give you a little perspective there when we talk market size, the NFL market is much smaller than the NBA market, which is also interesting because it's filtered around a lot smaller group of players. People mostly only care about quarterbacks. So it's kind of even smaller than that when you really think about it. So same thing here, sorted by number of sales. And once again, we care about this price change percentage column. And once again, you see very little green. Herbert down, Burrow down to a flat. He might actually bounce back a little bit after the performance on Thursday Night Football. Lamar Jackson up slightly over the last 14 days. That could change once again based off the performance of Thursday Night Football. Herbert, Burrow leading the pack in number of sales, but also down slightly. Burrow did not play great against the Browns. Woohoo! And Herbert's been a little hit or miss since the win against the Chiefs a few weeks ago, or almost a month ago now. And his stuff's starting to slide back down again. Kyler Murray has done what Kyler Murray did. Came out of the season gangbusters, tearing up the league, and now all of a sudden is all dinged up and didn't play last week and doesn't look like he's playing this week. Mahomes, we'll talk about him more in a minute. Continuing down. Barry Sanders actually up 14%. Baker down 3%. Jordan Love down 2%. I'd expect that to take a harder dive after that pitiful performance last week. Peyton Manning up 15% in the green. Troy Aikman up 9%. So we noticed a trend on the NFL players that are in the green. People that are well retired. Deshaun Watson down 13%. We'll talk about that more in a minute as well. Here's some more green. Carson Wentz up slightly. Justin Jefferson up slightly. Joe Montana down a few percent. Jonathan Taylor up a little bit. Not surprising. He had a monster week last week. Derrick Henry down. Not surprising. Randy Moss up 11%. Once again, theme here. Guys not currently playing in the NFL are the ones going up the most. Nick Chubb up a bunch. Had a monster week. So on and so forth. Drew Lock down 30%. I believe he tested positive for COVID and has also been on the bench all season. Deion Sanders up 14%. Dan Marino up 6%. Once again, noticing a trend here, though Brett Favre down 14%. So it is still a little all over the place, and that kind of happens with the guys that are retired as well. But you see, once again, the general overall trend here is the NFL market pulling back over the last 14 days. Really, it's been pulling back since the season started. This isn't necessarily super surprising. A few players have spiked up, but most spiked down. NFL market, once again, a little bit different than the NBA, but the NBA market is following suit. And we've seen this happen before. We've talked about this a million times on the channel, that once we get in season, the cards usually go down. It happened in football this year. It happened in football last year. It happened in basketball last year. It happened in basketball this year. It happened in baseball last year. We don't know about baseball this year because we haven't had a second baseball season yet. Post-pandemic lockdowns and all those shenanigans. So we'll see what happens to baseball when we get there in April. But the other two sports, we have had full seasons, an off season, and into a second season now in the post-pandemic world. And they have rinsed and repeated that once the season starts, the cards immediately start going down, except for the couple of players that drastically outperform expectations. See Jordan Poole, Ja Morant, whatever. Those guys get little spikes up, re-level out at the new, whatever their new thing is, pull back a little bit, flatten out, and then do their thing. And then it just kind of rides the waves until we get to the playoffs, and then guys start going back up again. And the playoffs might not necessarily be a sure thing to save it. And you also have to remember the playoffs are only going to save a couple players. It's going to be the players that keep winning and keep moving on. So that's a massive risk to take. So NFL market trending down as well with the NBA market. We'll talk about some individual players here in a second. Once again, I don't want to dive too much into baseball. We'll do that in its own separate thing. But just looking at some individual players and cards here. Let's talk Mahomes. His stuff has gone down even more. This is looking at the last 14 days worth of data. His PSA 10 is now down to 6,300. It dropped $800 in the last 2 weeks. And his PSA 9 is now down to 1,375. Down 15% on the week and continues to fall. They also did not look good on Monday Night Football last week at all. I mean, they won that game, but oof, man, was that ugly. Man, oh man, was that ugly. So they did themselves no favors in that game. We'll see what happens going forward with them, but the Chiefs look like an absolute mess. And I really don't even know who the favorite is to come out of the AFC right now. It's messy to say the least. Really, all of football is pretty messy, but the AFC is definitely seems to be the more messier of the two conferences. Seems like no one wants to win it. Everyone's just perfectly above average, basically. So Mahomes trending down in an ugly sort of way. I don't know where the bottom is at on this, but it's probably gonna keep going. We'll see. Deshaun Watson, there was hopes and dreams of him getting traded. I don't know why people thought that. There was just way too much legal drama for another team to bring him in without having some clarity on that situation. Like, are you really going to give up a bunch of draft picks to get the guy for this season? And then maybe in the offseason he's suspended for a year, or who knows? Plus just all the PR nightmare that goes along with that. I'm not surprised he didn't get traded. And then the second he didn't get traded, we got past the deadline. His stuff has begun moving down and moving down quickly. Over the last 2 weeks, he's down 40% from 650 all the way back down to $400 on his PSA 10 silver. There's probably a window to buy here at some point in time. And then, assuming he gets moved in the off season, if he got traded around the NFL draft or in March or whatever, I would be moving as quickly as humanly possible if you're trying to buy in on the low. I'm not going to tempt fate with the legal drama surrounding him. There's probably money to be made here. I just don't know that I have the stomach for it to deal with the ups and downs and the tabloids and the whatnots and the legal shenanigans that are going to be involved with holding his cards. So it's not for me, but someone is going to buy in at the right time, and there's going to be a news event that spikes his prices, and someone's going to take advantage of that. It's for sure going to happen. I just don't know that I want the risk associated with that, because only a couple people are going to get that right. Switching over to basketball, just once again looking at a couple specific cards. Lucas Silver Prism, once again over the last 2 weeks, down 20% from 5.5 to 4.3. All Lucas stuff, once again, is pretty much down. The Mavs, they have a decent record, and he had played good the other night on Friday night. I think he had a triple-double and looked pretty good doing it, but that team just looks so flawed. With no second star behind him. Porzingis is a glorified role player at this point in time, and I don't even think he's healthy. I don't remember if he's back yet or not. But, I mean, they're winning, I guess, but their schedule's also been very easy. I just don't know that I buy them as a deep playoff team, and I don't think the market does either, because this stuff continues to pull back. Even though him as a player, he hasn't had the scoring numbers, but most of the NBA, you really can't even look at scoring numbers. The entire NBA is down in scoring due to the rule changes or rule enforcement, I guess. Everyone's scoring numbers look a little worse than they typically do over the last 3 to 5 years, when it was kind of the Wild West out there. Offensive guys were allowed to do whatever they wanted to and getting calls on everything. That being said, the actual NBA product to watch on TV is a lot better, in my opinion. Scores are a little bit lower, but actually just watching a game, the flow of the game is 1,000 times better. So Luka creeping down. Once again, I just think people are beginning to understand that the expectations that were lofted onto him, and I love the guy, don't get me wrong, but there's not a path to a championship for him this year, most likely. And I just don't see how they can make a trade. Most of their picks are still in New York's coffers from the Porzingis deal. John Morant, we talked about him earlier. This is his stuff over the last 2 weeks. Optic base down 18%. Optic hollow holding strong, at actually slightly up 3%. Silver Prism down 10%, and base Prism down 17%. So on Ja here, anyways, once again, we see the base getting hit a little bit harder than the silvers and the hollows. But once again, his stuff spiked way up. If I looked at the first 14 days of the NBA season, his stuff is way up. It has hit its peak and is now slightly on its way back down again. We actually see, though, some of his stuff did spike back up middle of last week. He continues to play really well. I've tried to watch as many of his games as humanly possible when the Cavs aren't on or when I'm not busy doing something else, and he just looks absolutely insane this year. Absolutely insane. He's been playing so well, and look, it just is so fun to watch. So I definitely still believe in Ja long term for sure. And then last but not least, just a quick check-in on old Zion here. Once again, over the last 14 days, his base Prism is down 10%, his silver Prism is down 15%, and there really has not been any updates on what is going on with his health situation. I said a couple weeks ago. I don't expect we see him before Thanksgiving. I feel real great about that. At this point, I'm not sure we see him on an NBA court before Christmas. The Pelicans suck. They're probably the worst team in the league right now because he's out and Ingram's been out for almost 2 weeks now. I think they're 1-10, 1-11 on the season. At what point in time does it get to where they're like, hey, we're going to bring you back, but we're going to manage your minutes all season or something like that? Like, what's the odds we actually see Unleashed Zion all season? This is going to be another one. Someone is going to probably make a mint on Zion. His stuff is going to get too cheap. Someone's going to swoop in and make some plays. And at some point in time, now it could be next off season, like this upcoming summer, like 9 months from now, when the market hits a fevered pitch for him and stuff goes back up again. But I just don't know if it happens this year. I could be completely wrong on this, but they're going to baby him back as much as possible, especially since they're already basically eliminated from the playoffs. I mean, it's not even Thanksgiving and they are almost toast already. So I just don't see them pushing him really hard, which is going to affect his numbers. Maybe he'll look good doing it, but I still think he starts extremely slow as he plays his way back into shape. I don't know. They're not going to rush him back at all. So we'll see what happens with Zion's market going forward. But that's all I got for you guys and girls today. I got to get out of here. I got to pack up my case and head to 1-of-1 trade night. Depending on what happens with that, I'll probably do a recap video on that for Monday morning. Baseball video sometime next week. And then definitely want to do a comic book video as well. I have some things that I want to research for that first, though. So it probably won't be a Marvel Monday. It'll probably be middle of the week. But I also have some tech drama in my life. My main desktop computer that I record on, the video card's been acting up for a while now. And it's getting shipped back to the company that I purchased the tower from because it's still under warranty. So my MacBook Pro laptop is going to have to fill in. So at some point in time, probably Sunday or Monday, I got to unhook this system and get all the equipment hooked up to the MacBook. I've recorded on it before, but I don't have the full kit and caboodle. That's like a to-go thing for when I travel. So we're going to have to make some adjustments there. I'm hoping it doesn't affect content at all in regards to getting it out on time. I may have to miss an extra day or something like that if I run into any problems. I'm sure there's going to be some trips to Best Buy for adapters in my future. So like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. We will catch you guys and girls tomorrow. Peace.